Link engaged.
Visit us at TeamSpeak.com.
In the blue trunks, he is playing Protoss to the east. Versus his opponent, it's the one and only TDAttero. He is in the red trunks, and he is also playing Protoss to the north.
Yeah, blue and red. The eternal rivalry.
Good colours, man. Yeah, very good colours. I'll be interested to see whether blue can triumph over red, or whether red will just snag one back. It's a possibility.
It always is. I'm really bad at pre-game show, as you can probably tell.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. What's your versus blue statistic? Do you actually have that on TLPD, Cat?
I don't have it on right now, but I would guess red has an upper hand, just because I always bet on red.
Always bet on red.
Yep.
Cool information to have.
The rule.
Right, well, we've got pylons coming down. This is a shocker. The first few minutes of a PvP, unless, of course, it involves proxy 2-gate, usually pretty standard. We'll see whether we have an aggressive opening from these guys, and that's ZeNEXYong right there with an 11-gate.
Yeah, that's a pretty fast gate.
Yep, it's faster than other gates, folks. We'll find out as to what exactly that's going to mean. Now, of course, that does mean you can get faster warp gate timing, but it's a little bit sacrificial in terms of your economy.
Yeah, just a little bit. We'll see what he tries and does with this. It's
Yeah, the timings are interesting. We've got almost a 20-second difference between these two in terms of the gateway timings. And TDAttero managed to scout him almost immediately, so he's aware of the 11 gate. He knows exactly what's going on right there. So it's going to have to be a little bit cautious for any kind of early game aggression. And of course, what that can mean is an incredibly fast 4 gate. Nice little block off there by TDAttero.
Very nice. Wow.
Oh, yes, very nice. And that, I think, has almost negated the entire advantage in terms of warp gate timing that he would have gotten from putting down that gateway earlier.
Yeah, TDAttero just getting his hypercore. He's still a little bit behind, but he would have been like a few more seconds behind. So that was definitely really, really nice by TDAttero.
Yeah, by the looks of it, he's caught up almost a full 10 seconds from that, so that's really great. Young was, needless to say, looking for that really, really early cybernetics core, and we don't know what it's going to turn into just yet, but he is saving Chrono Boost quite a lot, as you can see, so there's a very real possibility that we'll be seeing very fast warp gate tech.
Yeah, that's what it's looking out to be. Important to note also is ZeNEXYong actually got supply block there for 1 second, probably as a result of him not being able to drop his hypercore. I wasn't paying attention, but it might have been the same probe that was queued to pylon right after.
That probe is a damn hero, and it hasn't fired a single shot yet.
Yeah. Very, very nice play from TDAttero so far. He is also keeping control of the watchtower to see if there's going to be an offensive stalker, probably.
Yep, we've got 2 gateways so far from Young. We're going to see if this turns into a 4-gate or perhaps some other kind of transition. I would have thought if it was going to be a 4-gate, he would have dropped another one there, but he hasn't. He's gone into the pylon instead. But he does want that warp gate out incredibly fast. Now, Young not getting aggressive with that stalker. He's keeping an eye out for something.
Yeah, apparently he's just playing a little bit overly safe. He is taking out his second gas, so I don't think we're gonna see any sort of all-in coming from him. TDAttero is playing this really smart as well. He got a sentry. He's assuming that Young is probably gonna 4-gate, and he's gonna play the defensive role here. But interestingly enough, as a result of how early Young has been getting everything, TDAttero was a little bit more careful, and his second gas is actually later than Young's.
Yeah, it's an interesting difference in terms of timings. Also, it's fairly severe at this point in time. 5 minutes into the game, it's a probe economic advantage. And we see Young going for a quick robotics facility. And I have to wonder if because of that probe, whether or not Young's plans ended up changing.
That's really tough to say. It just looks like Young's build is not super effective. But like on paper it's not, is what I mean to say. But
yep.
it's incredibly effective in the sense that it looks exactly like a really fast 4-gate. So if you see TDAttero, like, he has no way to gather any more information, and he has just been preparing for this 4-gate. He got the sentry, his robotics base later, or his robotics facility, whereas Young just basically did the same thing, except he got his gas earlier and he got his robotics facility earlier. So he's negating a little bit of that probe disadvantage in trading it for faster gas and possibly faster tech.
Yep. Also means that he gets faster observer, so he's going to have great scouting information at any moment in a close air position. That's helpful. Admittedly, he has waypointed it to his natural, so I'm not really sure what he's planning on doing with it right there. Perhaps that was an error, or maybe he's just going to send it along with his force right there.
Yeah, and we see Attero actually getting an immortal before getting an observer. And again, this could still be as a result of him thinking that there still might be some aggression coming. Now, really cute thing that I noticed from Attero was he started getting zealots really early on, favoring zealots over stalkers. So that might have been him expecting a timing that didn't come, and then just being like, okay, I guess it's not coming. But now being a little bit overly safe, getting the immortal first.
Yep, and Young, in fact, just took the long way around, possibly to avoid any observer that he thought was there, maybe, I don't really know. But he is going to spot that robotics bay. He passes by that, so he's aware of the Colossus timing. And in the meantime, we've got Young instead going for a Twilight Council.
I actually know, just because I've heard and I've seen people like Kirikaki do this. Apparently, a lot of PvP is favoring a lot of Blink Stalkers, especially in Korea.
Oh yeah,
and that comes a lot more to micro and also to being a little bit trickier, just trying to jump into your opponent's main and stuff like that, rather than straight up head-on fights against Colossi.
Yeah, it gives you a bunch of harassment opportunities, and it also means that your stalkers basically count for double if your micro is really good. So in PvP, it does matter an awful lot, especially if your opponent doesn't have it. It's perhaps not quite as good because of Colossus being in the mix, but it's still good enough to justify taking it. And he's going to move out right now, and that Twilight Council's only just started for Attero. So that's really the difference. It's going to be Blink Stalkers and versus Colossus, but there are no Colossus on the field. He's going to grab second Immortal.
That's really interesting. I'm not sure why he would do this, as I mean, like, it kind of makes sense just because Immortals are so strong against Stalkers as well. So
yeah,
I'm just not sure if it's worth just investing in that Robo Bay in the first place and then not using it at all. I mean, I could see him scouting the Blink Stalkers and then being like, okay, I'll just make Immortals. But then he invested so much in that robotics bay, I'm not sure if it's even worth it here.
It was a really curious choice, and perhaps that was the problem with Attero not scouting and not having that information. But here we go, engagement on the way, and the Immortal getting focused immediately by ZeNEXYong, who quickly blinks away, and he nails down just a little bit of Attero's force, but some time has been given to work on those pylons and that mineral line. He's got good range here. He can fire on the Twilight Council. Right now, Attero playing as defensively as possible. Doesn't want to lose the Twilight Council. He's already one pylon down from this harassment right here by ZeNEXYong.
Yeah, and ZeNEXYong is positioned incredibly smart here. He's using Attero's building positioning to his advantage and Attero's disadvantage. So I'm pretty sure Attero's never gonna build his buildings there again.
No, I think he's going to learn a valuable lesson from this. These Immortals are reaping a pretty terrible tone on ZeNEXYong, but really good Blink Stalker micromanagement right here. And army supply count is in favor of Young right here, 36 to 27. And Attero didn't lose the Twilight Council. He's going to get Blink, but he doesn't really have the Stalker count for that to make any sense.
Yeah, he needs to Chrono Boost this Immortal somehow. He will in a second, but it's looking pretty grim for him. I mean, if he can hold, even then, look at that. Look at Young being sneaky at the bottom expansion.
Oh yes, very nice positioning on that, and of course his opponent's going to have no idea that's there. Once again he goes for the ramp. Now is a big blink right there, getting aggressive, pouncing on that Immortal. One taken down, second down as well, and he'll be driven away with a few losses, but I don't think he really cares at this point. He's still got 13 Stalkers on the field versus 7 and 1 Immortal, plus he's 1 expansion up. But you know what? Attero scouted it anyway. Very, very good game sense there to suspect some kind of hidden expo.
Yeah, indeed, but then again, there's not much that he can do about it.
Nope.
ZeNEXYong's choice to expand there was just fantastic, because having the mobility of Blink Stalkers on his side, like, he can basically defend that base really easily. And of course Warpins. So Attero's trying to harass it, but like 3 Stalkers are going to be met by 3 Stalkers there, and it's going to come down to micro until every other Stalker arrives, and then it's just sheer numbers.
Yep, and Attero did get the micro upper hand there, but as you said before, it doesn't really matter. But he is able to get out, or maybe not, almost. No, I think he will, because his blink will come off cooldown before that, unless he fails monumentally. He is away with that. So, a little bit of harassment. He didn't really do anything with it, however. And now, Yong is streaming ahead, 39 pros to 33.
Yeah, there's really not much Attero could do here. If I were him, I'd try to get ahead in some sort of count. Because as it stands, he's making the same units, except he's making less of them. Yep. So you can't even rely on a micro mistake or anything like that at this point. This should be his final attack.
I think so, and Attero misjudged that, I feel, allowed his Immortals to get a little bit too far behind. He attacks from the flank, but the focus fire will come in right there from Yong. Excellent Blink Stalker micromanagement. Attero getting absolutely shredded. Yong's able to flank with an Immortal as well, now pouncing to try and finish off the remains of Attero's forces, who not GGing out yet, but still 43 army supply at 25. Work supply heavily in favor of Yong, with 44 probes to 32.
Yeah, he's getting shot from the high ground. He doesn't even seem to care. And there's the blink. Painful.
Ouch. Yeah, very nicely done there by Yong. A little bit of a brute force effort to finish off this particular game. Attero has nothing to hold this with as his last Immortal falls. Another warp in might end up getting shot to pieces before it even contributes, but Yong's got plenty of reinforcements coming in right now. The offensive pylon, and there you go. GG, ladies and gentlemen. First game of this best of 3 series going very convincingly to Yong.
Yeah, indeed. And it's I'm not sure what happened there. Like, Yong seemed like he was falling behind in probes. He seemed a little bit undecisive at the start of the game, but it ended up working in his favor. It was just like almost like a mind game, and I'm not even sure if he meant to do that. But just by appearing to be aggressive, it forced Attero's tech to be super delayed, and then that robotics facility, or robotics, the coL.CatZ thing, it just you know, that was a lot of gas and minerals that he probably needed to defend. It allowed Yong to expand on the back of it, and just went downhill from there.
Yeah, perhaps exploiting the reputation of Koreans to be really, really aggressive. Now, I don't know what kind of competitive history Attero's had against Koreans. Canadian Protoss player. He plays an awful lot of online cups. He's very, very good, I might add. He's won a ton of Go for SC2, for instance. He's beaten Killer, he's beaten Moman, he's beaten This Is Jimmy and Craft Cups. He did the JTV Invitational, where he came in second. And he also beat Drewby in a very recent Go for SC2, in fact, 3-2. But his experience against Koreans isn't exactly too great. He hasn't had too much of an opportunity there. So perhaps you've got your Korean player playing mind games, saying, hey, I'm Korean, I'm going to get aggressive. Or perhaps he just adapted to screwing up. I mean, Attero, you've got to give it to Attero. That denial at the start, that harassment with the probe was absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, definitely. That was very, very, very impressive, and it, as a result, he pulled ahead in almost every count, or rather didn't fall us behind in the tech count. But that was really impressive. I guess you don't need that many minerals as much as you need gas. I mean, like, it seemed like Yong was cutting probes here and there, and that was just really impressive. I wonder if Attero is going to be able to adapt for Game 2 and do something similar, or if he's just going to fall behind in that race again.
Yeah, he really did overreact to what he saw, what he thought to be an extremely quick 4-gateway attack. But needless to say, that was no doubt ZeNEXYong's evil plan. Once again, continuing his representation, He is, in fact, the only Korean still alive in this particular tournament. There weren't all that many coming in for this one, but we have seen plenty in previous. We'll be going to a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll be bringing you Game 2 between ZeNEXYong and Attero.